Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're talking to you about something pretty exciting that Sarah and I did recently. We recently went on a pretty long vacation, I would say, to Florida, and we went to Disney World and Universal Studios, both for their Halloween events, and then obviously everything else that's there normally. But we hadn't been to Galaxy's Edge before, which is the Star Wars part of Disney World. So you go to Hollywood Studios, which is one of their 4 parks, and then in the back there's Galaxy's Edge. And one of the things you can do there is build a droid, which is what we got here today.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did that.
Oh.
See, there's a controller. But, so we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what we did, our experience. We actually recorded our legitimate experience building this thing, but there were a couple of things we wanted to tell you that we didn't film, and also give you our feedback on the experience and what we've noticed about the droid now that he's back home and we've been able to tinker with it a little bit. So I'll talk a little bit about the process of getting ready to go to the place, and then Sarah will tell you about what happened there. So you have 2 options to do when you want to go build a droid. It's called Droid Depot at Galaxy's Edge, but you either have to make a reservation or you can do a walk-up. I highly recommend, if you know you're going to do this, get a reservation. Why? Because you will have to wait a significantly less amount of time in line. We noticed when we first got there, there was a line wrapped around the building. And we were like, oh, that better not be for all the reservations. And we went up to the cast member, and they said, nope, if you have a reservation, you just walk right in, and then you can get inside. But that had its own surprise for us. So I'm going to let Sarah take it away. Basically reiterate, make a reservation. Don't do the standby line.
Yeah, so once you go in the door, there's 2 lines there, right? One is the standby line that's going all the way out the door, and then the other one is the reservation line. But to even get in that line, you have to meet with another cast member and wait in like a pre-line of, I don't know, we had maybe 5 people in front of us.
Yeah, there's 2 lines there.
Just to even be able to get into the first line to pay. What we've noticed with both this and, spoiler alert, we built lightsabers too. Both of them you have to prepay before you actually do the build.
Like pre-authorized. Because it actually didn't go through on the credit card. It was just there in case you didn't show up.
No, I mean, once you get there, you pay before you build.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant like you pay on reservation.
Right, yep. So you wait in line, you pay, and then you're ready to do the build. This one, basically, right after you paid, you were able to start your building process right away. They asked you, I should say, while you're in line waiting to pay, there's a window on the side next to the waiting line with all the different options, whether you do a BB unit, an R2 unit, or, what's the other one?
It was just the 2.
Okay, I didn't know if the Conehead one was still R2.
It's still the same model.
But anyway, they had all those different options, different colors, different type of head styles that you can choose to do. And then, you go up and pay. They asked if you wanted a personality chip, which you can always choose to do later if you forget right then and there. But yeah, the first thing that they do is they give you the main base that's inside that you can't see right now, and a basket, and you have to go and on this moving conveyor belt select the pieces that you want. They tell you, that you need a body, right, and you need a headpiece, and then you need this other base underneath. These little antennas were separate, but they were just taped right inside here.
One thing to say about that, all the parts, so like we have a picture, we can show it here, what the like conveyor belt looks like where you pick your parts, but the parts are all exactly the same as the window looking thing that Sarah mentioned before, so you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for before you actually get up there. It's not like you're continuously looking at different parts and you have to pick on the spot. You have a decent amount of time while you're in line to kind of get an idea of what you want to do, and then you just walk up and pick the parts out that you want.
We did have a fair amount of time looking at the options while we were in line. Even though our reservation was at a certain time, I still think it took a good 10 to 15 minutes after our reservation time for us to finally start our build, which was kind of frustrating. You think you'd be able to go right in. But it does beat having to wait however many hours in line the rest of the people in the standby line had to wait. I don't know how long that line would take.
Yeah, and I will clarify a little bit. That 15 minutes was just to even pay. It wasn't to start the building process that you'll see when this transitions over to our experience. That's 15 minutes of waiting in a line to pay for the droid, and then you go to the conveyor belt and pick your parts, and then you get in another line to be able to actually go up to the station to build your droid. So it's a little bit of a process, but yeah.
Yes, once you have your basket of pieces, as he said, you go wait in another line to wait to actually build the droid. They had one cast member working with two different groups, one cast member per two sets of groups. So there were, I don't know, maybe 6 cast members and 12 building stations or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Which, seemed okay. They weren't there to handhold you 100% of the time, but they definitely were there to give you the instruction that you needed. Just because they were, dividing their attention between the two different groups.
And you'll hear that in our video a little bit. The person that was working with us, talking to the person that was next to us as well a little bit.
That was pretty much the extent of the building process. Besides what you'll see in the rest of this video, where it's the live footage from our trip. Anything else to add? Oh,
the one final thing that I wanted to mention before we get into the video is how much it costs. That's pretty important. It's about $100, but I think before tax to build just the droid. If you want a personality chip, it's an extra. Was it $10?
I think it was $10 for the personality chip.
And then there's also other pieces on the walls that you can pick out of. There's decals that you can put over like the parts of the droid. So like here, ours is red. You could probably get another color that would make it a different color, and you'd put it over it. I'm not a big fan of that just because I'm not very good at stickers. But on the flip side, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw a shelf where you can buy other parts like to interchange. So like these main parts where you see the circle part here, you could buy different halves and whatnot. I did not do that one, so they do talk on their own a little bit.
Maybe that's part of the sassy chip.
Oh, he went to sleep.
Oh.
That's what happened. Because I haven't been messing with it at all.
If they're inactive for a certain amount of time, I thought they had said 20 minutes, but that clearly wasn't 20 minutes.
No.
Then they go into sleep mode.
So yeah, $100 to get the droid, $10 for a personality chip. I will say a lot of the extras that are on the wall are for the astromech versions, so like an R2 unit. I don't think I saw hardly anything for a BB unit. I guess there's some things here, like these little holes and whatnot.
But if he were to roll onto it.
If he were to roll, it wouldn't really make any sense unless he's just standing there.
Even just for the color options, I'd say there was a lot more options for the astromech version. But a lot of that's because they have the leg pieces, so you could customize the color of the legs. That's an extra piece this guy doesn't have. And then they have the 2 different head shapes, which this one had 2 different head shapes too. But I feel like the astromech version had, say, 5 color choices, whereas this one had maybe 3 or something like that for each one.
Yeah, this one, it had this style where it's kind of flattened at the top. This is the style that the First Order had for their BB unit. And there's also the one like BB-8 where it's like a half of a circle,
like
half
a
a sphere. The astromech, it was just like you see in R2-D2. Where it's domed. There's also cone-shaped, so to speak. But I think that about covers the stuff that's not in the video. So, enjoy our little experience. It's pretty interesting because when we were there, we actually had some malfunctions happen. So, it's not a perfect straight through of what the ideal experience is. So check out that way you know what to look out for, and after that experience is over, we will come back and we will talk about our thoughts on the experience, the droid itself, the pros, the cons, and our overall opinion. So check out the video here, and we'll see you in a little bit.
So for the first step, you have a choice of 2 of these, red, black, 1 of each, or 2 of each. Which color do you think you want? So they go right here in your motivator.
Okay, do you see them on the outside or
You
no?
don't.
Okay, let's go with red. Yeah?
I'm trying to respect her and not put her in the video.
You can go ahead and put them in this way. So you don't want to put it this way because then it gets into the way of the personality chip.
Okay.
And your on-off switch. So you want to put them this way. Okay. Yep. The short one goes on top.
Here you go, man. Put the short one in.
Yep.
On top. Put it in there.
Go ahead, push it in.
Push it in. You gotta push that one in.
It snaps a little bit.
Feel it? Feel it snap?
There you go.
There we go. Alright, now the other one. And then
No, the other way. The other way.
Put it there. Push it down in there. Now.
Can we look at the instructions?
So
They might be.
this is the front of his
I
head.
don't know if the top is different from the
This is his
bottom.
eyes.
We did this.
Do this. Slightly spin until you feel like you can snap it together.
Maybe we gotta put that on?
Okay, so, and then once you do it, you flip it over, and here's a screwdriver to tighten the 2 screws. So what we want to do is line up the 2 arrows. You find the other arrow? Okay. So hold the arrow facing you. So what I'm going to do is I'll hold the bottom for you. You put your motivator in. Now line up the top arrow a little to the right of the bottom arrow.
Okay. And slide it.
And then slide it. I'll hold the bottom. You use 2 hands for the top. It's easier that way. So remember that. You hold the bottom for she'll spin the top. That's the easiest way to do it. You try to do this, it's really hard.
Sure.
Okay, so now you have 3 antennas.
Okay.
You want to take them out and put them in your 3 holes.
Okay.
And then his eyes lines up with that. So you want to do the same thing, kind of slow movement, and then get it to snap. It's not going to snap really tight like this did, but then once you snap it, we're going to screw them together.
Ah, okay.
So antenna first.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna magnetically do
All
it.
you have to do is lift them up and put them on.
Alright, lift them up, put them on.
Just like that.
I wonder where we put the personality chip because we just closed it.
He's going to sit where he wants to sit. And he's going to lean right now. But once we activate him, we can use the controller to straighten him out. So you ready to activate? Are you sure? You
We might have to do that on our own. That's why she was telling me about how to open it.
I feel like that one's not snapping in.
Activating.
I think it's in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in now.
Want to hit the red button? If it's together, here, we can hold it. Go ahead and screw.
I didn't twist it yet.
That's okay. So now so let's just, I think let's do this one screw. Okay. I think we're good. You can just set him on. Okay. Let's see, you ready? And he might lean a little, but once we activate him, we can fix him with the controller.
Okay.
All right. Front, forward, backwards, left, right. 2 buttons, one lights up and one makes sound. And this spins his head.
Whoa.
You see how he's not leaning anymore?
He's
So
already
now go
sassy.
slow because there's not a lot of space. And he needs lots of space to run.
To the side. Here you go.
minute. You ready to activate? Yep. So I'm waiting for the case light to light up, so I'm going to just reset the system. Okay?
Hold on. Let's see if it goes right.
Okay, we're going to check one thing.
Hold on. I want to make sure that this goes, because
Can
it
you
goes
take his
fine.
head off? And I just want to make sure he's switched on.
Goes fine this way.
So, okay, so can you spin the top off? Because we're going to have to open it. So the on-off switch is right there. Okay. Towards the center is on. And it was on, but I just reset it just to make sure. Okay. So again, here's the slightly to the right of the top arrow. There you go.
Just the red one. Just press the red one. The little one.
Alright, so we're going to try this.
Don't press the blue right now. Okay.
Okay. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is if you can either go get you a different motivator.
This R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
Okay. And we're going to switch him out because he's not behaving. Okay. So if you want to take the two pieces off, I will get another one. Okay.
Is that pretty cool?
Take two.
This guy.
Yep, there you go.
Alright, you guys doing well?
Yeah, just want to make sure these definitely work. Is this what it's supposed to do? Just spin?
He's supposed to go right and left because he doesn't have space right now.
He just spins. I don't know if it's supposed to.
You want to put him on the ground? So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to switch out his motivator.
Get that back out.
Yep, so hold on. If you can take them apart.
Hold on, let's do that. Not that.
Activating.
You want to take out the red ones? There you go. Take out the other red
Want to
piece.
just hit the red button when you're ready? Okay, let me get you another one.
Alright.
Hey, we gotta check that thing. What happened to that?
See his head spinning?
So we can just repeat.
Put it back in.
Not that way.
The other way.
The other way.
You gotta put it in this and that.
We're all set. Let's test him out. Hopefully he's not going to have the same issue as the other one.
Got it?
Forward, backwards, sound light, left, right, and this spins his head. Okay. They roll really
They go fast.
They go really fast.
There you go. Okay. Now we'll put these back in. Alright, look at the arrow. Find the arrow.
They're just spinning.
We might have the same issue with the left right.
Well, I think that it's because it's round, it's not necessarily going to be that obvious right turn that you think of in an R unit.
Sure. Should we
So,
try it on the floor?
yeah, go ahead.
Bill, turn around the moment.
It's all right?
Bill, look at the moment.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, so let's activate it.
Look, Bill.
Ready to hit the button again, bud?
I think he's doing good.
Okay. I trust your
Head
answer.
spins.
Yeah, he's talking. He's lighting up.
Activating.
Those are his lights
So I'm gonna have you push the button again.
and the sound. I think he's good.
Yeah.
It's good, right?
I think so.
Cut off and basically do the exact same thing but backwards. Do you feel better this time? Yeah? Alright. So here is all of your fun, aka very boring instructions. Give those down. So we're going to take his remote and we're going to turn his remote off.
You just put it in there.
And then we're going to plop him in right there so you can still see him.
Doesn't really want to go, so I don't want to break
And then put
it.
his remote in there. Amazing, yes. So then that guy's just going to go in right there.
There we go.
Perfect. Do the whole thing again.
Want me to hold the bottom?
I got it. I can take yours next. Here, not here. Perfect. Ah! All right. There he goes.
All right, welcome back to this part of the video. You just saw our experience of building the droid. A couple things I want to point out. We're kind of getting into that pros and cons part of the video. One of the things that I actually didn't figure out until I got home, because I had more space to mess with the droid. You may have noticed in the video that Sarah was playing with the droid on the ground and trying to test out, seeing whether the droid would go, you know, forward, backward, left, and right, because that's what the buttons on the controller do. Is
The blue buttons.
blue up, down, left, and right, and then these two are the voices, and then this one, left and right, spins the head. The thing that I learned when we got home is I couldn't figure out how to basically drive this thing. I couldn't figure out what was the logic behind being able to get this dude to move the direction I wanted him to. If you have a BB unit, I don't know if it's the same for the Astromech unit because we didn't buy one. But if you have a BB unit and you have it so that the head is on there, wherever its eye is forward. So if you were to rotate the head, so if it was looking that way, now forward would be that way. It's all relative to the eye. So keep that in mind when you're using your droid, that you have to just kind of remember, okay, the eye is facing this way, which means the directions mean X, Y, Z, whatever you're trying to do with it.
And to reiterate, you don't have to move him the way I was. You can use the controller to move his head.
Yeah. That was one of the big things that I noticed. What were some of the things you noticed?
One of the things that I noticed was the group next to us had an issue with the left and right buttons on here, right? Because they expected forward to go forward, back go back. Left would just make him move to the left, and right would make him move to the right. And that's not really how it goes. And the cast member didn't really fully explain this super well, and I think it's just because they weren't 100% aware of the turning mechanism. Because the thing is if you hit left, he doesn't just go left. He kind of spins a little bit. But if you hit forward and left, he will curve to the left. If you hit forward and right, he will curve to the right. So it's that he has to be going either forward or backward in order to turn directions. Because it's more of a turn system than him just scrolling to the left.
Yeah, and like if your expectation is to just have your droid go to the right in the first place, just rotate his head with the button so that he's facing that way and then push forward. So you almost have to, like I said, learn how to drive your droid, so to speak, to I think to have the full experience, because I think, like you said, it wasn't explained very well how to actually maneuver the droid. I think the only thing that we were told was he's a sphere, so he drives differently. but
Right.
they didn't say what was different about it.
Yeah,
So
if it was an astromech, you know those only move the direction of the wheels, so you'd expect to have to turn forward and left. But because he's round, that's why we thought it'd be different, when really it kind of drives the same.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things that I noticed was when we got our body shell pieces was that they were kind of dirty and not dirty per se, but that they had a couple markings on them. And I don't know if that's just because our particular droid has such a large amount of white, if it's just because it got beat up a little bit, maybe we should have waited for another piece, or if that's just the way they all are. I didn't spend too much time investigating, because once I found the color pieces that we were looking for, we just took them and went. But as Jeremy said, and I don't know if this is in the video or not, but it's something that he said to me when he picked up the pieces, is it kind of just makes it more realistic, because in real life it's not going to be perfect, and the second you drive it anywhere, it's going to get dirty. It's not going to stay clean forever, so...
Yeah, it looks like a droid that, has done a thing or two.
Yeah, so if you're super picky about it being spotless, then maybe you'd want an astromech version, because only the wheels touch the ground then, versus the whole body.
There was one more thing
Right.
that Sarah mentioned to me earlier, so I will give her credit for this point, and that is that, and it's actually something that bothers me a little bit, is that when you're trying to control the droid, there's no easing into something. So,
Yep.
what I like to do to give it a little personality is, I would like to be able to move the head. Like, let's say I have my droid, because like we said, we put a personality chip in it, and it's the scoundrel chip, which is supposed to be somewhat sassy, like Han Solo. Something that I would like to do is, if I took the droid, I ran into someone's foot, and then, someone's like, hey, what are you doing? And the droid would be like, look him up and down or something. I can't really do that very easily. I can't make him go like that very easily, because it's only the head that moves, so to speak.
There is no variation in speed. It's on or off. That's it.
Yeah, it's either super fast or nothing. Mm-hmm. And when you're trying to, because I've been trying to make it so that I can do those different things, and what I notice is if I try to make him look like he's sizing someone up and down, I end up just getting a big teeter-totter back and forth, because I'm trying to, because the system is so quick on those moves. So,
which also made it a little bit hard to test out while we were there, because your building table is only, say, this big. It's not a very big building table. It's definitely enough to build them, but it's not enough to test them out.
yeah.
So you try to put it on the floor next to you, but it's so crowded because of everybody waiting in line and people building right next to you that there's not really any room to test them out without running over somebody's foot. Which I think I might have actually did when we were testing him out on the floor.
That's in the video, but I was paying attention to the live thing that was happening and not the camera, so you don't actually see it hit the kid's foot. But the kid thought it was funny.
Oops. There was one more thing that I forgot about, which was the personality chip. So we knew up front we wanted him to be sassy, because that's just the flavor we like, if we think it's fun. But what I wish the cast members would have done, and I don't know why they didn't do this, maybe it's just because we knew up front, hey, we want this one, so they didn't bother to explain it, or maybe they didn't know, I'm not sure, is I wish I would be able to better understand the difference between no personality chip versus what the other personality chips do. Like an example of, okay, if you move him forward then backward, that triggers him to make a certain boop or something like that. That might be like a sassy characteristic. Or, if you spin his head in a complete circle, maybe he does something. Or if you do a different personality chip, he does this instead. Or just some sort of understanding of what the differences are. Because without me having to take him apart and take the chip out and try out some different things and put the chip back in and do some more experimenting, it'd be kind of nice to know ahead of time without having to do a bunch of experiments to figure out what the difference is, because I don't really know.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. You can buy the other chips. They're all along the wall, so you can interchange them as you like.
They're different colors, so you can tell what the difference is.
Yep. I think...
The scoundrel one that we have is purple.
Yeah. I didn't really see it on the packaging, because the packaging that we got for our chip was different than the ones on the wall, which was kind of interesting. Ours came in like a little plastic box. We'll have the picture here for you. You can see that in the photo. But the ones on the wall came in cardboard and plastic. So the ones that they hand out at the beginning when you're at the cash register, I think those are just in different packaging than the ones on the wall.
They might be reusable maybe because you're using them right then and there instead of taking the packaging home.
Oh, that's one thing we should point out. If you want to put your chip in at the experience, you might want to mention it because you might have noticed in the video at the beginning we had one person and then they switched out. The first person must have been going on their break, and there was a second person, so we actually had to build the droid. And then when the second person came, we tore it all apart and then put the personality chip in and then put it all back together. I think if you want to do it all in one shot, mention to them, hey, I have a personality chip. Can we put it in during the process? That way you don't have to potentially just take it home and do it.
The last thing that I forgot, gee, I'm forgetful. We never mentioned, don't give me that look. We never mentioned how many people you're allowed to have, and I feel like that's kind of important.
Yes.
You are allowed one builder and then one viewer. So you're allowed 2 people per droid build. So with us building one droid, we were the only 2 allowed to be in there. For good reason, the place was really crowded as it was.
That's small.
We had 2 other people in our party that had to wait for us somewhere else. They went and, I don't know, waited somewhere not in the rain because it was raining, but they went and did something else. But they couldn't be with us, and really, even if they were there, it would have been really cramped, especially if everybody else had that many people too. So you're only allowed 2 people per droid.
Right, I think that about wraps it up.
I think so.
So yeah, you got a lot of information here, what to expect when you go, some tips and tricks of when you're building, what you're picking out, and things to look out for before you leave, because it's an expensive investment. If you end up with a bad motivator like we did, you'll see that in the video, or as you saw in the video, I should say. But yeah, that wraps it up for this video today. If you want to see more of the stuff that we did on our vacation, we'll have a good chunk of videos coming out in the future here of our trip. We'll probably be talking about it for a couple of weeks just because there's that many videos that we could do about it, of all the cool things that we were able to experience and do. So turn on your notifications, that way you are alerted when those videos drop. Sarah did mention briefly that we made lightsabers, so that video will be coming out as well. Just like this, where we talk about pros and cons and show you our experience that we went through. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, drop us a like if you like this video, and drop us a comment letting us know if you've made a droid before. Let us know if you have and which one you built, what it looks like, all that cool stuff. And also if this video helped you make a decision whether you want to build one or not. That'd be awesome too. And then as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.